we're gonna go over the top 20 WordPress hosting companies one by one, and we're gonna talk about the pros and the cons for every single one of these companies, all based on a full year of speed tests and analysis. And I'll be giving these hosting companies a rating from A to F. A being the best and F being the worst, which means by the end of this video, you're gonna know exactly which one of these companies you should go with to host your WordPress website. And the winner is gonna be a hosting company that I've used that not a lot of people know about. And this hosting company is the best one out there. It allows you to host hundreds of gigs of data. It's also one of the most affordable ones. So make sure you stay till the end of the video to find out who the winner is. But before I share that, make sure to smash the like button, because as a bonus for watching this video, I actually contacted all these hosting companies and I got the hookup. I got discounted pricing, the best pricing with all these different hosting companies that you can find anywhere on the internet. And if you want those discounted rates, there are links down below in the description with coupon codes to all the different hosting companies. But first, with most hosting companies out there, they're gonna offer you some different free services. And if there's a hosting company that doesn't offer the services that I'm about to share with you for free, don't sign up with them. So let's share some of those common services that you're going to get. And I recommend with any hosting company you sign up for that you make sure that they're going to give you free SSLs, free emails, free support, free backups, and a money back guarantee. And let me explain what each of these means. SSL stands for Secure Sockets Layer. If you're going to be selling products on your website, or if you just want to make sure that your website is secure, you're going to need to add this SSL certificate to your website. And this helps to secure all your online transactions. It keeps all your customer information private and secure. And you need this especially if you're going to be selling products online. But even if you're not, if you just want to have the best security, you're going to want this SSL certificate. And most hosting companies will give this to you for free. Next, every hosting company should also offer you free email accounts. I recommend at a minimum signing up for a hosting company that's going to give you at least 50 free email accounts. And this allows you to create business emails. For instance, I recently launched a product called Carnivore Electrolytes. We built an online store for it, and I was able to create an email, travis@carnivoreelectrolytes.com. Another thing that hosting companies should offer for free is support. Anytime that there is an issue with your website, you want to make sure that you're able to contact someone for support. And that's something that we're going to be talking about in this video, is what level of support do all these different hosting companies offer? Because when your website is down, you want to make sure that you can talk to your hosting company to get your website fixed as soon as possible. The next service that you want to make sure your hosting company has is backups. Do they offer some kind of backup? Because if something happens to your website, you want to make sure that you can get your website back up and running as soon as possible. And the majority of hosting companies do offer free backups, but some don't. And we'll talk about which ones do and which ones don't. The last thing that we're going to talk about is a refund policy. Most hosting companies out there will offer some kind of a refund policy, at least most good ones. And if you see a web host without a refund policy, I would not recommend going with them. That is a massive red flag. Refunds are something that most web hosts out there should offer if there is some kind of an issue. And those are the main things that you're going to want to look for in a hosting company, but there are some other bonuses that you should think about. And one of the big things is I love when a hosting company offers you a free domain name. That is the www.whatever the name of your website is.com. And you're going to have to pay for this either way. So if your hosting company offers it for free, that is a huge win and it's going to save you money. Another one is a CDN, or free access to a CDN. And CDN stands for Content Delivery Network. And what this does is it allows your website to be faster, because it will distribute your website in different images and content from your website to multiple different servers all around the world, which is going to make it faster for anybody to load up your website from anywhere in the world. Another rare freebie that I want to mention is Malware Cleanup. And very few web hosting companies offer this, but it's probably one of the best free services you guys can get, because malware removal protects your website against hackers who try to steal your data and damage your website. And when shopping for web hosting, you want to keep all these different features in mind. And not all of these might be extremely necessary for your website, but if one of these features are, it might be the difference maker in choosing which different hosting company you want to go with. Now, before we go through all the different web hosts out there, and I help you to decide which one is perfect for you, I do want you to understand a couple different specific terms that I'm going to be talking about. And by understanding these different terms that I'm going to give to you right now, it's going to help you to understand which web hosting company is the best for hosting your WordPress website. And the first term that we want to talk about is basic storage, which refers to hard drives. There's HDD and there's SSD. HDD stands for hard disk drives and SSD stands for solid state drives. HDD drives are slower to load information because they have many moving parts. SSD, solid state drives, don't have moving parts, so they load faster, which means that your website is going to perform better. Both these different options store data, but SSD drives are a lot faster, so keep that in mind. Another term that you need to know before we dive into the pros and the cons and go over all the speed tests for these different hosting companies is a term called NVMe storage, or non-volatile memory express. This is the fastest type of storage. Instead of loading the memory drive into a specific slot, NVMe loads directly from the motherboard. This results in a much higher data transfer rate than SSD or HDD drives. Now let's get into it, and I recorded the speed times and uptimes of these 20 different web hosts. HostZinger, Bluehost, HostGator, Kinsta, 10Web, A2 Hosting, InMotion, DreamHost, Fastcomet, GoDaddy, GreenGeeks, Host Armada, Liquid Web, NameHero, Preassemble, SiteGround, TMD Hosting, WP Engine, WPX Hosting, and we also tested Cloudways and all the providers out there like Amazon, DigitalOcean, and Vultr. It's important to know that we're testing uptime and page speed here, and anything above 99.95% uptime meets the web hosting industry standard. And Google suggests your website needs to load in less than 2 seconds. With that, let's get started by talking about HostZinger. And a big pro for HostZinger is their uptime of 99.96% with 3 hours of downtime throughout the entire year, which is not bad. And what really impressed me about them is their load time of 1.32 seconds for a WordPress hosting website. HostZinger is also really affordable. It's one of the lowest cost web hosting companies out there, and they have an easy to use website builder for your WordPress website. It's honestly hard to find a better hosting company, especially if this is the first time you've ever started a WordPress website. And HostZinger might be my favorite hosting company out there, but I am going to announce the winner at the end of this video, so make sure you keep watching because we still do have a lot more hosting companies to go. Next up, we have Bluehost. And first off, let me say one big pro for Bluehost is they do have relatively cheap plans. But part of the reason why they're able to offer such cheap plans is they aren't the best quality out there. They basically, what they do is they're an aggregator. They go and they buy lots of small little hosting companies, and Bluehost is just a giant conglomerate. And part of the reason they're able to offer such cheap hosting is also their support is not great. And their uptime was 99.92%. They had a total downtime of 6 hours throughout the year, and their average load time for the website with Bluehost was around 6.72 seconds, which is way too slow. And I actually used Bluehost when I first set up my website, but I've had a ton of issues with them. I've had uptime issues, I've had support issues, and overall, I've lost thousands upon thousands of dollars in sales by using Bluehost. And yes, Bluehost is cheap, but they're kind of overpriced for what you get because their service really sucks. And if I were to purchase a WordPress hosting company today, knowing everything that I know, I would not choose Bluehost. In fact, I'm in the process of moving my hosting over to a new company, a company I'm going to be talking about later in this video, the company that I said I think is the best hosting company out there. So next up, we have HostGator. And HostGator is another popular WordPress hosting website. HostGator showed an annual uptime of 99.94% with only 3 hours of downtime, which is pretty good, but their average load time was slower at around 4.12 seconds, which is slower than the 2 seconds that Google recommends. A pro is they do have relatively good customer service and fairly affordable prices, but here's the dirty little secret about HostGator. They're actually owned by the same parent company that owns Bluehost. And honestly, Bluehost and HostGator are about the same. And sometimes you get better luck with HostGator, sometimes you get better luck with Bluehost. So if you're choosing between these two, I would choose whichever one is cheaper at the time. Again, I have discount links to both of them down below in the description. The next hosting company is Kinsta, and we tested Kinsta for over a year, and a big pro with Kinsta is their uptime of 99.99% with only 24 minutes of downtime throughout the entire year. Another pro for Kinsta is the average load time was only around 1.26 seconds. So they're meeting Google's recommendation of less than 2 seconds of load time. Plus it does have automatic backups every single day. A con for Kinsta is the price. With the packages starting at $35 a month, and Kinsta doesn't come with any free web domains, which means for me, this is a bit of a deal breaker. It's very overpriced, even though it does have really good performance. Next, I looked at 10web, which is a new hosting company with an AI website builder. And the first pro is they had an overall uptime of 99.99%, but they had more downtime with 60 minutes of downtime throughout the year. Their load speed is another pro of only 921 milliseconds, which is under 1 second. As for support, that's another pro for 10web. Their team is fast and detailed, and they have 24/7 website security. However, a big con is their website editor, which just kept crashing, and it makes this website really unreliable and kind of hard to use at times. Another con for me, and a con for 10web, is they're not very user-friendly for beginners. And their packages start at around $10 for just one website. The next hosting company is A2 Hosting, and their annual uptime was 99.98% with a downtime of just 2 hours, but a con is their average load time was 2.98 seconds, which is kind of high. Another con is their website backups are only available with certain plans. And although they have pros of being a great company for scaling your website and business, their loading speed and because the fact that they don't offer backups for all their plan is a massive con. And for me, it means that I would not recommend this company. The next one that we have is InMotion. And a pro for InMotion is they have an uptime of 99%, but a con is their speed with an average of 2.93 seconds. Another con for InMotion is compared to a lot of other hosting companies out there, they're just more expensive and you don't get anything extra for all that extra money you're spending. Another big con, which I've never seen before, InMotion doesn't immediately activate your account. Once your payment has been processed, you actually need to wait for your profile to be activated on a phone call from a new account specialist at InMotion. Next up, we have DreamHost, and the first big pro for DreamHost is that they are recommended by WordPress themselves. But that's kind of where the pros end. There's not really a lot great about DreamHost. I don't know why WordPress recommends DreamHost because it has a low annual uptime of 99.91%, and an average of 7 hours of downtime. But the average load speed was 3.94 seconds, which is pretty freaking slow. And another con for DreamHost is their support requests have long delays. And premium WordPress hosting requires additional costs. Up next is the hosting company Fastcomet, and their uptime is 99.97% with only 1 hour of downtime throughout the entire year, which isn't bad. And a huge pro is their 24/7 fast and reliable customer support. And their plans are very inexpensive, starting at $1.70 a month, but their loading time is where I see a huge con. Their average load time clocked in at 3.29 seconds. Another con is their low disk space. They only offer a max of 35 gigabytes, which should be enough for most people out there, but the hosting company that I'm gonna recommend at the end of this video offers a lot more space than that. The next company we're gonna look at is GoDaddy, and honestly, there's not a lot of pros with GoDaddy. I really don't recommend using GoDaddy because they had an annual uptime of 99.85% with 11 hours of downtime, and their load time was 2.97 seconds. A big con with GoDaddy is also their price. And the reason is GoDaddy spends a ton of money on advertising, on marketing, and I do recommend if you need to buy a domain name, you can use GoDaddy to do that. But the way that GoDaddy makes their money is by selling people their hosting plans. And mostly what happens is older people that don't really understand, people that aren't watching this kind of a video, will get tricked into buying a cheap domain name with them and then paying extra money for hosting that they don't really need when there's better options out there. And on top of this, they only give you one SSL certificate per year, which means that if you want to have multiple websites, you're not going to be able to do that with their hosting plan. Another big con is creating a website using GoDaddy is really confusing in my opinion. A lot of other hosting companies out there have much easier to use website builders. However, one big pro I could think about with GoDaddy is they do offer phone support, but so does the next company that I'm gonna talk about. The next company also offers phone support, and I will say, in talking with GoDaddy's phone support, they can sometimes be kind of rude. And I know a lot of people that have had negative experiences with GoDaddy's phone support, so I don't recommend GoDaddy. Next up is GreenGeeks, and one big big pro for GreenGeeks is they had an uptime of 99.98% and only 2 hours of downtime throughout the entire year, but they did have an average load time of 2.49 seconds, which is more than what Google recommends. So this is not the best hosting company, but honestly, it's pretty close to what Google recommends, so this isn't a terrible option. Next up is Liquid Web, and first I have some big pros for Liquid Web. They achieved an annual uptime of 99.98% with only 1 hour of downtime and an average load speed of 1.38 seconds. But a huge con is plans start at around $19 a month. Another con is recently their support has become really slow. So this could be a good option for companies out there that need top tier managed hosting, but it's really not a good call for beginners. The next hosting company is NameHero. And over the span of 6 months, NameHero had an annual uptime of 99.98% with only 34 minutes of downtime, which is really good. And this just goes to show how reliable this company is. Another big pro is they manage an average load time of 1.62 seconds, plus they have really good customer service, but their verification time is slow. And another con is the price. It's more expensive than other hosting companies for WordPress. Their hosting is also more expensive than other hosting companies out there, including the winner that I'm going to be talking about in just a little bit. Next up is Pressable. This is a new company and it's got some great pros. Their uptime is 99.99%. and they only had 10 minutes of downtime. They also had an average load time of 1.08 seconds, and this is just on their personal plan. Pressable also does have strong security. But on the other hand, the cost of this hosting company is really expensive. It's $25 a month, which is ridiculous compared to a lot of the other hosting companies that we've talked about. So this is a good option if you really need the best uptime in one of the fastest website hosts out there. But I wouldn't personally recommend this to most beginners out there. The next hosting company we're going to talk about is SiteGround, and this used to be my favorite hosting company, and there's a lot of pros here. The first pro for SiteGround is they're actually one of the 3 companies that is recommended by WordPress themselves, and their annual uptime is 99.99% with just 1 hour of downtime throughout the entire year, and they have an average load time of 1.73 seconds on their Grow Big plan. Other pros are they offer daily backups, free CDNs, and they have managed WordPress hosting. They also have very affordable pricing. However, overall, I would say SiteGround is kind of a mid-tier hosting company. It's about middle of the road pricing. They also offer fairly affordable pricing, but it's quite a bit more expensive than the winning hosting company that I'll be talking about in just a minute. One big con with SiteGround is with their lowest tier plan, you can only have one website and you only get 10 gigabytes of web space. And you're only allowed 10,000 monthly visits, which just doesn't really make any sense, which means if your website starts doing really well and starts getting more visitors, you're gonna have to pay more money. Next up is TMD hosting, and TMD hosting starts off with some big cons for me. They only have an annual uptime of 99.9% with 8 hours of downtime. They also had an average load time of 2.15 seconds using their starter package. But as a pro, they've got an easy to use dashboard and their pricing is pretty competitive to start. But their price is a bit of a double-edged sword. It doesn't cost a lot to sign up, but their renewal fees are really expensive. Next up after that is WP Engine. WP Engine's biggest pro is speed. WP Engine had an annual uptime of 99.97% with just 2 hours of downtime, maintaining an average load time of 1.36 seconds. Another pro with this hosting company is that it's really reliable and they have great customer support agents who are really knowledgeable, in fact, experts at WordPress. And overall, it's probably the most professional and one of the best hosting companies out there, but they've got a massive con. It's 10 times the price of all the other hosting companies, so it's really not great for beginners. Up next, we're gonna talk about WPX hosting for WordPress. First, their speed. WPX hosting had a great annual uptime of 99.99% with only 22 minutes of downtime. They also had an average load time of 1.93 seconds on their business plan, and that's a big pro. The prices are also affordable for people that are new to WordPress, and they also have very low wait times, which is a great addition for anyone that's looking for fast, reliable support. However, there's no option for phone support. It's all live chat. Another con is the hosting dashboard itself can get confusing and it's fairly outdated in my opinion. It's not very intuitive and not very easy to use for beginners. Next up, we're gonna be talking about Cloudways, which is an all cloud-based hosting company. But before we can begin with Cloudways, I just want to let you know that Cloudways is not suitable for beginners because you have to migrate your website and it's easy to mess something up. But of course, make sure to keep watching because I am going to be revealing the best web hosting company for beginners, really for everyone. And I'm going to be talking about like which hosting company is best for you. I'll share what my favorite one is, but we'll talk about which hosting company is also going to be right for you. But let's keep talking about Cloudways. And Cloudways has an annual uptime of 99.99% with only 3 minutes of downtime, which is a big pro. And they showcase exceptional reliability. The average load time for this platform was 1.45 seconds. And it's a great solution for businesses looking for hosting. But a big con is the setup. It's really complex and takes a while to try to get in and figure out how to set up Cloudways. Another con is the trial period to test it out, which is only 3 days. Next up is DigitalOcean, and again, a great pro here is the speed. With DigitalOcean, the uptime is 99.99% with only 1 minute of downtime, which is incredible, and the page speed load time was 1.59 seconds. As I said, it's a great hosting company for startups, and this is a great hosting company for startups and mid-sized businesses. But even then, there are some cons, like there's no file manager or email hosting. Next up is Linode, and Linode had an uptime of 99.9% with only 7 minutes of downtime. And a big pro is their page load speed time was under 1 second. It was 970 milliseconds, which is the fastest among all the different Cloudways hosting options. It's also very reliable, but you do have to pay for website backups separately, and they only go as far back as 14 days. So you can't access versions of your website older than 2 weeks. And the last hosting company before I get into the winner, who I think is the best hosting company, is Vultr. And they have an uptime of 99.99% with only 1 hour of downtime throughout the entire year. And their average load time was 1.63 seconds, which is a pretty big pro. And they've got great pricing structure as well for all their plans. Their support is fast and reliable, but a big con for me is that it's just outdated when it comes to their infrastructure. So now, drumroll please, let's announce the best web hosting company for WordPress and which one you should go with. And I personally recommend and think the best web hosting company out there is HostGator. And HostGator is the best hosting company out there because they allow you to store over 100 gigabytes of data, and you can create over 100 websites even with their cheapest plan. You also will get a free domain name, free email, and unlimited free SSLs. On top of that, HostGator has data centers all over the world, and their website builder is one of the easiest ones, and you can even use their free AI tools to build a website in seconds. And best of all, HostGator is one of the most affordable hosting companies out there. Plus, I have the hookup with HostGator. I can get you an extra 10% off. All you have to do is click on the link down below, use coupon code Travis, and you're gonna get an additional 10% off, even though HostGator is already probably the most affordable hosting company. Now, I will say, one big con with HostGator is they are constantly raising their prices. When I first found out about them, they were only 99 cents a month. Now they're almost $3 a month, which is still an insanely good deal, but I'm telling that to you so that you know that if you're thinking about signing up for a hosting company, I would recommend signing up with HostGator and doing it fast before they raise their prices. So use the link down below, sign up for HostGator, and make sure that you use the coupon code Travis to get an extra 10% off.